All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as the Niners have re-signed Ben Bartch. And I think it's a good move. We'll talk about it coming up next. First, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket. Get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. And this video is also brought to you by our sponsor, Aura. We'll have more from Aura in just a minute. But first, let's talk a little bit about the story of the day. The 49ers have signed Ben Bartch to a one-year deal. The Niners, as far as a low-cost alternative, this is definitely it. He gets a one-year extension. And most likely this means that Aaron Banks' career with the 49ers is coming to an end. Banks is likely to leave in free agency when it begins on March the 12th. He's probably going to price himself out of San Francisco, and the Niners are probably going to replace Banks with Bartch in the short term and probably somebody else that they draft in the long term. Banks, of course, is better than Bartch. Banks was the starter, but he's going to get a multi-year deal. Banks is probably at worth, 10 to 12 million per season. And, I think the Niners probably look at Ben Bartch and say, you know what? He's not quite Banks, but he's almost as good, and he's a fraction of the price. Now, Bartch was the Jaguars' fourth-round draft choice in the 2020 draft. In 2021, he actually started 11 games. But since then, he's battled a lot of injuries. In 2023, the Jaguars waived him and placed him on their practice squad. And the Jaguars offensive line coach went to breakfast with Chris Forster, the Niner offensive line coach, and was like, hey, man, you really ought to take a look at this guy. And the Niners picked him off the Jaguars practice squad. So this year, he started 2 games for the 49ers. He played well in his first start. Then he got injured in that second start, which is kind of a little snapshot of the way his career has gone up to this point. And so now he'll come into camp this summer with a chance to compete for that starting left guard spot. And Spencer Burford is also in the mix. He's entering the final year of his deal. So you could have Bartch and Burford gone by 2026. I would imagine the Niners are going to draft a guard, and that guard will probably be in the mix as well to be the starter. Or if they draft him late, maybe he'll be the guy that takes over the left guard spot from Ben Bartch in a year. But I like Ben Bartch. I really do. I think he's a good player. He was scheduled to be an unrestricted free agent, and so now the Niners retain a player that looked really good in 65 snaps in 2024. He gave up 0 sacks. He only allowed 1 pressure. He had a 74.8 PFF grade. He had a 98.4% pass blocking efficiency grade. All of those stats were career bests for Bartch. So he played well. He played well. He had a high ankle sprain, and he's only 2 offensive linemen scored above the 50th percentile in both pass and run grades for the 49ers, and that's Ben Bartch and Trent Williams. This is according to Dave Lombardi's Twitter. Dave has a chart up, and we'll share the screen, and you can take a look at it for yourself. But he put this up on Twitter. That kind of shows a little bit of the breakdown of the Niner offensive line, pass block percentile, as far as run block percentile, how many snaps, and you got the starters above, and then you got the backups down here. Bartch played 65 snaps, but he had a 93 pass block percentile, which was really good, obviously. Nick Zakel's at 96. Trent Williams at 74. Those are the highest. Besides, he had a 68 run block percentile, which also is higher than almost everybody except for Pooney, Trent, and I guess Brendel edged him out there. So that's kind of interesting. I really like Ben Bartch. I think, he's a guy that fits the Niners system. If he can stay healthy, that's going to be a big, big situation or a big bonus for the 49ers. I think overall, if you look at the 49ers offensive line, and we'll share the screen and show you the Niner depth chart. And this is courtesy of our friends over at Our Lads. And we'll show you this depth chart for the Niners offensive line. So you see Trent Williams, Banks and Green because he's a free agent. Then you got Brendel, could be a cap casualty, probably not. I think they do need to upgrade there. Dom Pooney is their plug-and-play starter at right guard from last year's draft. Colton McKivitz played well last year at times. He's your starting right tackle. Then you've got Jalen Moore as a free agent. And what kind of offers does he get? I'm sure the Niners would like to bring him back. He's coming off a really good year. They also have Spencer Burford. They brought in Matt Hennessy to compete for the center spot. You have Nick Zakelj, who's one of Brock Purdy's best friends. You also have Charlie Heck, who's a free agent. And they also brought in Austin Pleasance. So they've got some decent numbers. They're going to let Banks walk. I would imagine Jalen Moore is going to be priced out, and he'll probably get an offer more attractive somewhere else. But that's not a guarantee. So Jalen Moore could be back on a reasonable deal. Charlie Heck could be back on a reasonable deal. As I said, they just acquired him. He's a free agent. So a lot of it really depends on, as far as what else they look for as far as offensive line, depends on how they view their guys. I mean, they don't have a long-term starter or solution to back up Trent Williams. He's an older player. And McKivitz, a lot of people think, is a replacement level tackle. And Jalen Moore, their swing tackle, is a free agent. So they definitely need an offensive tackle in this draft. I think they probably could use another guard and maybe even a center. And I would expect them to draft at least 2 offensive linemen. Now let's stop sharing the depth chart and we can take a look at the guard position. And we're going to take a look at the top guards in the 2025 NFL draft. This is Draft Tech. And so they've got Tyler Booker from Alabama as the number 1 guard, 6'5", 332 pounds, the junior run blocker deluxe. I mean, this guy's just a road grader of the highest order. But to me, I don't know that the Niners are going to go guard in the first round. I would guess that they would not, especially now that they've re-signed Bartch. But, man, if you're looking to run the ball, Tyler Booker, I think, is one of the safest players in this entire draft. He's just such a road grader. He's a blue chipper. He's a powerhouse. I mean, this guy, you can run behind this guy all day and every day on the goal line. So, Tyler Booker would be a huge get. But do the Niners, how is he going to play in the Niners outside zone scheme? Do you draft a guard in the first round when you have so many other needs? Now, Gray Zabel looked fantastic in Mobile in the one-on-ones. Now, I didn't think he looked as good in the game, but this guy can play center. He can play guard. He's played tackle. He's very versatile, and really looked good in the one-on-ones. The guy that I kind of think, or the couple of the guys that I think on this board that could really interest the Niners, one is Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. Now, when Josh Simmons, their star left tackle, got hurt early in the year against Oregon, Donovan Jackson, they moved him from guard to tackle. And, Barrows was talking about one of the things the Niners like in guards is they like guards who have played some tackle and who have the footwork to play tackle, at least at the college level. And Jackson, stepped in at 6'4", 300 pounds. They moved him to left tackle, and he manned the left tackle spot. They won the national championship. So, Donovan Jackson, I think, is a really good prospect, and I could see the 49ers going for Donovan Jackson in the second round. No question about it. I think if Donovan Jackson's on the board when the Niners pick in the 40s, they have him going in the 60s here. I could see the Niners taking him in the 40s. The other guy that's really intriguing is Charles Grant from William and Mary, who's light, 6'4". They list him here at 280. I think he's more like 290, 295. He's got ridiculous long arms, so 35-inch arms. He's got a wrestling background. He's a good leverage player. He's an interesting guard to watch. Some of these guys further down the list here, Miles Frazier's a big-bodied guard from LSU. Jalen Rivers has got a lot of talent, University of Miami. I love Willie Lampkin. They list him here at 5'10", 270. I think he's more like 5'11", 285. But Willie Lampkin, I really love as a day 3 center guard slash fullback. Jackson Slater from Sacramento State. We just had him on the Krug show last week. I think Jackson Slater is going to be a really good day 3 pick. I love Marcus Ware from Montana State, who played right tackle at Montana State, but I think he's probably going to be a center or a guard in the NFL. He looked good in the All-Star games, just, didn't lunge, stayed on balance, hard to get around, really strong punch. I thought he looked fantastic. Marcus Ware from Montana State. So there's some interesting players here for sure. If you go further down this list, Javontes Spraggins from Tennessee, 6'3", 330, kind of underrated athletically, real powerhouse of a blocker. So those are some of the guys that I really kind of like. Spraggins, I really like Spraggins quite a bit. Sal Wormley from Penn State also has the wrestling background. Really, really like Marcus Ware from Montana State. Really like Jackson Slater from Sac State. Really love Willie Lampkin from North Carolina. And then some of these other guys, Jalen Rivers, 6'5", 330. He's a great athlete. Miles Frazier's a huge body, 6'5", 3.25. Dylan Fairchild from Georgia, I think is a really underrated offensive lineman. Another guy with a wrestling background. Luke Kandra from Cincinnati, good player. Charles Grant, as I said, super projectable athlete, long arms, growing into his frame. But of all the guards in the draft, to me, Donovan Jackson's the guy. He's the guy that you would want. He's the guy that I could see them going after, just because he can play tackle in a pinch. He played at a high level, guard and tackle. He played on a terrific line. He's really well coached. Great size, 6'4", 300 pounds. Just a really good player. Really good player, and I think he would be a great fit. If you got Ben Bartch, so you have you covered right now, but, if you want someone to go to camp and maybe beat out Ben Bartch and turn Bartch into more of a jack-of-all-trades backup, a guy like Donovan Jackson could be exactly what the doctor ordered. So, overall, I think it's a good move for the 49ers. One, Bartch fits their system. He's a whole lot cheaper than Aaron Banks. He looked good in a very small sample size in 2024. He definitely fits into the Niner culture. And I think he's a really solid football player. He can play in a bunch of different spots. And this is a guy who's an underrated athlete, and he's a little tougher than you think. And I think overall, Bartch coming back is a positive. Now that covers you against having to, you got to have, with Banks walking out, if they didn't re-sign Bartch, they really would have had to consider guard, and with the first pick or the second pick for sure, because they would need a starter right away. They don't have a starter. Now with Bartch re-signed, you're covered there. You have a starter at left guard, so you don't necessarily have to go guard with one of your first 2 picks, and I think it gives the Niners added flexibility once the draft rolls around. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. And now a word from our sponsor of today's video, a word from Aura. Have you ever typed your name on the internet and seen all of your private information is online? Are you tired of receiving tons of spam calls from random numbers? Are you receiving more and more of these as time has gone on? Well, that's where Aura, the sponsor of today's show, can really help you out. Data brokers sell your information to scammers and spammers and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, your email, your home address, all your records, your health records, who your relatives are. It's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it also protects me from hackers who could use the information to help them access my social media accounts, my bank accounts, or any other sensitive information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats I can't see. I get other features like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different apps. It's really easy to set up, and best of all, I get everything at one affordable price. I value my privacy, and I value yours. You can go to the link in the description to start your 2-week free trial. And thanks to Aura for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. And once again, Ben Bartch re-signs with the 49ers. It gives them potentially a replacement starter for Aaron Banks at left guard. Takes a little pressure off the 49ers at the top of the draft to find a starting caliber guard. Gives them a little bit more flexibility going into the draft. I think Bartch can be a suitable starter for Banks at a much cheaper price. So I definitely expected this move. I expect them to let Banks walk, and I expected Bartch to be re-signed. And I think overall it's a pretty good move. Now, I do think the 49ers will still attack the guard spot in the draft. And once again, I would say, if you're looking for, somebody, day 2, Donovan Jackson. If you're looking for somebody day 3, look for Willie Lampkin, Jackson Slater, and Marcus Ware. I really of the group there. I mean, Lampkin is like one of my favorite players in the entire draft. He's got such great fight, and he's a awesome wrestler, and the guy's an incredible talent. But he's short, and he at 5'10". I don't know if I know of a 5'10" offensive lineman in the NFL, but as a fullback, I think he could be a really, really good fullback. And Marcus Ware, I think, would be almost like plug and play starter at center. I think he could beat out Brendel right away. And then Jackson Slater is a powerhouse guard who, loves to be violent. And I think, all these players are intriguing for sure. If I could have any guard in this draft, I'd want Tyler Booker. I just think he's such a dominant inline destroyer in the run game. But for the 49ers, I think the best fit of all of the guards is probably Donovan Jackson from Ohio State, 6'4", 300-pounder who played left tackle when Simmons went down in the Oregon game. All right, that's going to do it for us. Once again, thanks to Aura, thanks to Pig in a Pickle, thanks to our good friends at Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, and thanks to all of you for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.